Washington, D.C., late spring 2025. The marble halls of Congress buzzed with tension. The hearing chamber was packed, standing room only. Reporters, interns, and political insiders jockeyed for seats as the House Oversight and Accountability Committee prepared for a session unlike any other. Why? Because Elon Musk, tech titan, innovator, billionaire provocateur, was about to testify. But this wasn't a standard hearing. The mood was electric. Musk wasn't being summoned over Tesla batteries or Neuralink trials. This time, he was the target of a political crusade. Representative Jasmine Crockett, the fiery Democrat from Texas's 30th District, had made headlines for weeks accusing Musk of manipulating public discourse, dodging taxes, and operating a shadow government through X, formerly Twitter. Her crusade became personal, and today's hearing was her battlefield. As Musk stepped into the room, clad in a sleek gray suit and flanked by attorneys and a few top engineers from SpaceX, all eyes turned. He glanced around with a smirk that screamed, "I don't care how powerful you think you are. I've launched rockets with more explosive power than your political tantrums." Jasmine Crockett adjusted her crimson blazer, tapping her pen against her notepad like a drummer before a solo. The cameras were rolling. Her supporters had primed her for this moment. This was her time to hold the billionaire elite accountable. The gavel banged. Chairman James Comer began, "Today we are here to address allegations of technological manipulation and abuse of influence. Mr. Elon Musk, you are recognized for your opening statement." Musk stood. Calm. Cool. Unbothered. "Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I run companies that are building electric cars, launching satellites, creating reusable rockets, and even attempting to cure neurological disorders. I'm here today not as a villain, but as an innovator, one who believes America is great because of risk takers, not in spite of them." Whispers. A few Republican reps nodded approvingly. Then Jasmine Crockett leaned forward, microphone angled perfectly. "Mr. Musk," she began with that slow, calculated tone she used in campaign attack ads, "you say you're an innovator. But it seems you also think you're above the law, above accountability, and above the people." The room quieted. Elon blinked slowly, cocked his head. Crockett continued, "You've used your platform to spread misinformation, reinstate dangerous accounts, and influence elections with subtle bias. You bought Twitter and turned it into a propaganda machine. Are you running a business or trying to be America's kingmaker?" The crowd gasped. Several staffers whispered and pulled out their phones. Elon leaned forward into his mic, calm but with a glint of fire behind his eyes. "Congresswoman Crockett, you say I'm above the people. I am the people. I'm an immigrant who worked 120-hour weeks, who slept in factories to ensure payroll got met, who mortgaged his own home to keep Tesla alive. I didn't take handouts. I built." The room erupted with murmurs. But Crockett wasn't backing down. "You built, sure. But who holds you accountable? Who makes sure billionaires don't steamroll over democracy? We've got families in Texas without reliable electricity, and yet you're launching satellites for Mars. Is that really the best you've got?" Elon asked coolly. "You're upset about satellites while your constituents are struggling with issues your own state's grid failed to solve? Maybe if your party spent less time on PR attacks and more time fixing infrastructure." Her face flushed crimson. She slammed her hand on the table. "Don't you dare question my dedication to my constituents." Now the room was in a frenzy. Chairman Comer banged his gavel again. "Order. Order in this chamber." But it was too late. Jasmine Crockett was fired up, and Elon Musk had just hit a nerve she couldn't ignore. And the fireworks were only beginning. Washington, D.C., same day, 11:32 a.m. The hearing had turned into must-see political theater. Live streams on X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, and cable news channels were racking up millions of viewers. Hashtags like #Musk vs. Crockett and #CongressClash were trending worldwide. Elon Musk sat calmly, water untouched, as if he were hosting a casual podcast. Not sparring with a sitting congresswoman in front of the entire nation. Representative Jasmine Crockett, by contrast, was pacing her words like bullets. Rapid, passionate, aimed to strike. "Mr. Musk," she snapped, glaring, "you're evading my point. You're a billionaire with global influence, unregulated, unmonitored, and increasingly unhinged. Do you think that having money gives you the right to make your own rules?" Musk's eyebrow twitched, a flicker of amusement. "No, but having vision does. You see, Congresswoman, In the time it took you to prepare that speech, my team launched a Starlink satellite to provide internet to children in war zones and rural America. Places your policy hasn't touched in decades. The room murmured again, this time mixed with shock and admiration. Crockett clenched her jaw. You're not here to brag, sir. You're here because your platform allowed disinformation that led to public unrest. Musk cut in, unbothered. You mean the same kind of disinformation your allies push on every social platform daily? Or just the ones you don't control? Now it was her turn to boil. Don't you dare deflect, she snapped. This isn't about my allies. This is about your responsibility. You took over a public square and turned it into a right-wing circus. Free speech is not a circus, Congresswoman, Musk replied, his voice calm but icy. It's the foundation of democracy. You don't get to decide what voices matter and which don't. Crockett leaned forward, eyes blazing. And you don't get to hide behind the First Amendment while letting extremists run wild. Elon locked eyes with her. Isn't it amazing how free speech is a problem only when your side isn't controlling the mic? Boom. Even some Democrats on the panel shifted uncomfortably. Crockett slammed her pen down. You're playing with fire, Musk. You think you're some kind of messiah for the tech world, but you're just another greedy billionaire with a god complex. For the first time, Musk's smile faded. He leaned forward, expression sharp. Do you know why I really bought Twitter? He asked softly. Silence. To stop the decay of civilization, he said. When truth becomes subjective, when debate is silenced, when only one narrative is allowed, tyranny wins. I didn't do it for money. Twitter was losing billions. I did it because someone had to pull the plug on the thought police. And apparently today that's you. Crockett's mouth fell slightly open. Her staff behind her shuffled in their seats. This wasn't going according to plan. Chairman Comer leaned in. Let's keep this professional. Congresswoman Crockett, you have 2 minutes remaining. Jasmine straightened herself, composed her papers, and looked Musk dead in the eye. You want a free country, Mr. Musk? She said, voice lower now, like a coiled viper. Then understand this, freedom doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean billionaire immunity. And it sure as hell doesn't mean crowning yourself the voice of America. Musk leaned back, crossed his arms, and chuckled. No crown needed, Congresswoman. The people already chose where they want to speak. And guess what? They're not listening to you. The gallery gasped audibly. That was the last straw. Crockett stood up so suddenly her chair screeched across the floor. Her face was beet red, her hands trembling. You arrogant Congresswoman. Comer barked. But she was already storming out of the chamber, cameras flashing, phones recording. It was the kind of meltdown that would live on in memes and reels for years. And Elon Musk? He simply turned to his aide, muttered, well, that went well, and took a sip of water, his first of the morning. Washington, D.C., 1 hour later. The storm hadn't stopped outside the hearing chamber, it had only just begun. News outlets were replaying Crockett's outburst on a loop. Twitter/X was ablaze with memes of her storming out juxtaposed with Musk's iconic calm smirk. Some called it a meltdown, others a historic reckoning. But behind closed doors, Jasmine Crockett was furious. Her staff had huddled with her in a private committee room trying to do damage control. One aide whispered, we can spin it. Say you were standing up for the American people, that Musk crossed a line. Spin it, she barked. He humiliated me on live television. Another aide tried to chime in, if we post your closing remarks and edit out. Edit out the part where I lost it? Crockett snapped, eyes wild. This wasn't supposed to be about him walking out like a hero. It was supposed to be me exposing him. Meanwhile, across town, Elon Musk was already sitting down for a post-hearing live stream on X with podcaster Joe Kent, sipping a Diet Coke and reflecting casually on the event like he'd just walked off a late-night talk show. Well, Musk said, that was more aggressive than I expected. I was hoping for a civil discussion, but instead I got, what's the phrase? Performance rage. Bro, Kent laughed, you body-slammed a sitting congresswoman on Capitol Hill. You had her yelling, standing, storming out, it was a full-blown reality TV episode. Musk shrugged, unfazed. Look, I don't hate her. I respect that she's passionate. But passion without principle becomes noise. And America's had enough noise. Back at Capitol Hill, other members of the Oversight Committee were scrambling. Some Democratic colleagues privately admitted that Crockett had overplayed her hand. Representative Jared Bernstein muttered to an aide, I warned her, Musk thrives in confrontation. You don't throw a match into a gas tank and act shocked when it explodes. But Jasmine wasn't ready to quit. That night, she called an emergency press conference outside her office. Flanked by allies and gripping a podium, she addressed the crowd. Elon Musk may think he's untouchable. He may have laughed today. But this fight isn't over. I represent the people of Texas's 30th district, many of whom have been ignored, exploited, and mocked by the very elites he embodies. Today I stood up, and tomorrow I will continue to fight for a fairer, more honest America. The applause was polite but not thunderous. The press asked her if she regretted the outburst. No, she said. Sometimes emotion is the only language the powerful understand. But behind closed doors, DNC operatives were worried. Musk has over 200 million followers, one strategist said during a late-night conference call. He made her look emotional and erratic. She needs to pivot. Fast. The next morning, Elon tweeted a photo of himself sipping coffee, captioned, "Day 2, still not a king. Still not silenced. Still not sorry." Attached was a link to Starlink's rollout in underserved communities in Texas. He tagged her. "At Jasmine for Texas, we're bringing internet to your district. Thought you'd like to know." That one tweet hit harder than any punchline. Commenters flooded in. When the billionaire does more for Texas than the Congresswoman. Musk 1, Crockett 0. This is the political Super Bowl, and he just dunked on her again. Crockett saw the tweet and snapped her phone down. "No way I'm letting him get the last word," she growled. So she called for round 2, another hearing, another showdown. But this time she promised herself she'd be prepared. No screaming. No storming out. Just cold, calculated demolition. Or so she thought. Because what was coming next would shake her even more than their first clash. Washington, D.C., 3 days later. The media frenzy hadn't died down. In fact, it had only intensified. Clips of the first confrontation between Elon Musk and Representative Jasmine Crockett had gone viral across platforms, with mainstream and independent outlets dissecting every word, smirk, and glare. Crockett had spent the last 72 hours huddled with consultants, prepping tirelessly. She was determined to regain control of the narrative. This time, her chief of staff said, "No emotion, no personal jabs. Stick to policy. Focus on regulation, safety, data abuse." She nodded. "I got it. Let's see if Musk can handle a calm, collected legal firestorm." Meanwhile, Elon wasn't sweating. In fact, he was building momentum. Between those 2 days, Starlink had quietly activated over 120 service nodes in low-income areas in Texas. He'd posted photos of families accessing the internet for the first time in her district. And the kicker? He captioned one photo, "Real progress doesn't need a podium or permission." So, when the Oversight Committee announced a second session to follow up on the Elon Musk content moderation and digital regulation review, the world tuned in again like it was pay-per-view. Committee hearing, Capitol Hill, Day 2. The cameras flicked on. Journalists filled the gallery. Hashtags like hashtag Musk vs. Crockett Round 2 and hashtag Free Speech Showdown were already trending. This time, Crockett walked in first, poised, silent, not a single sheet of paper out of place. She wore a crisp navy blue suit and maintained a professional calm. Musk followed minutes later, dressed in the same sleek black suit, but with an unmistakable air of relaxed dominance. He nodded politely as he took his seat. Chairman Comer opened the hearing. "We're reconvening today to continue the discussion around digital regulation, platform responsibility, and free speech boundaries. We ask that all members conduct themselves with decorum." Crockett's microphone lit up. "Mr. Musk," she began, her voice even and deliberate. "Since our last exchange, you've made a point of mocking this process, this chamber, and by extension, the American people." Musk tilted his head slightly. "Disagree. I mocked the circus, not the people." She pressed on. "Let's discuss Starlink. While I appreciate efforts to bring internet access to underserved areas, I must ask, why now? Why in my district? Why days after our hearing?" Musk smiled. "Because we move fast. Your constituents needed it. So we delivered." That was the line that broke her calm. "Just a little." "You delivered?" she repeated sharply. "No coordination with the FCC? No permits filed locally? You just showed up and installed tech across a city you don't represent?" Musk leaned forward. "That's called innovation, Congresswoman. Bureaucracy slows progress. I'd rather ask forgiveness than wait 5 years for permission." Ah, so laws don't apply to billionaires? She shot back. Laws are important, Musk said, measured. But when a law blocks a child from accessing education online, maybe the law needs updating. That's your job, isn't it? Some in the audience chuckled. Crockett didn't. You want regulation? Let's regulate you, she fired. Because right now your platforms amplify conspiracy theories, promote division, and ignore their own safety policies. Musk responded coolly. If you're asking me to play speech police, I won't. Because next time it won't be me in this chair, it'll be someone far less committed to liberty. The chamber got quiet. Crockett narrowed her eyes. You talk like you're protecting democracy. But you're not elected. You're not accountable. Musk smiled again like he'd been waiting for that. Actually, he said, pulling a printed page from his briefcase, here's a letter signed by 26,000 users from your district thanking us for doing what your office hadn't. He handed it to the clerk who passed it along the table. Crockett's face paled slightly. It was real. Signatures. Zip codes. Testimonials. And at the top. We asked for internet for years. Elon Musk delivered it in days. The cameras zoomed in. The press leaned forward. Crockett froze. Her words, rehearsed, battle-tested, suddenly felt hollow. Musk didn't smirk this time. He simply said, you can't yell your way out of impact. Another body blow. The room fell into stunned silence. Washington, D.C., 30 minutes later. The atmosphere in the chamber was still electric, heavy with tension. The crowd, the cameras, even the committee members all held their breath. The paper in Jasmine Crockett's hands weighed more than its pages. It was a visible symbol of what had just happened. Elon Musk hadn't just countered her attacks, he had undermined her entire argument with the one thing that couldn't be ignored, the will of her own constituents. Chairman Comer cleared his throat. Congresswoman Crockett, would you like to respond? She blinked twice, forcing composure back into her voice. I will say this, I don't doubt the sincerity of those letters. But let's not confuse charity with responsibility. A private company doing what it wants, when it wants, without oversight is not the answer to systemic problems. It's a patch. And if we keep applauding billionaires for acting like kings, we'll soon forget what democracy looks like. The line landed sort of. A few claps came from her end of the room. But the energy was restrained. Musk didn't respond. He didn't have to. His silence carried weight now. The hearing wrapped soon after. But it wasn't over. Journalists swarmed as both figures emerged. Mr. Musk, are you planning to fund further projects in underserved communities? Depends, he said, sliding sunglasses on. If the government keeps debating, someone's got to do the work. A few reporters turned toward Crockett, who stood stiffly at her podium. Congresswoman, any regrets from today? She forced a smile. I regret nothing. I stood my ground. He may have the followers, but I have the facts. A voice from the crowd shouted, what about the 26,000 signatures? She paused. Those voices matter. And they'll still be heard, but so will everyone else who can't tweet their way to influence. It was a decent answer. But Musk had already walked away like a man who knew he had already won the day. Later that night, national media firestorm. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, YouTube, TikTok. Every corner of the internet erupted with commentary. The headlines ranged from Crockett cracks under pressure, Musk owns Capitol Hill. 2. Is Elon Musk the new face of American populism? A poll launched that evening showed staggering numbers. 67% of Americans sided with Musk in the exchange, while only 23% supported Crockett's handling. The rest were undecided. Political strategists across the spectrum began whispering what seemed unthinkable just a week ago. Musk wasn't just a business mogul anymore. He was now a cultural icon of resistance against government stagnation. And Crockett? She was suddenly fighting for political survival. The fallout 1 week later. Back in Dallas, protesters showed up outside Crockett's district office, not conservatives but local residents demanding answers. Where was the broadband initiative last year? Why'd it take Elon Musk to bring us Wi-Fi? Crockett held a town hall, expecting friendly faces. What she found was a room filled with doubt. One mother stood up. My kid couldn't do homework online for 3 years. And in 2 days, Elon Musk gave us more than you ever did. Crockett sighed. He's not the solution. He's the symptom of a broken system. But you're supposed to fix that system, someone shouted from the back. The room murmured. For the first time in her career, Jasmine Crockett felt the cold sting of political isolation. Meanwhile, Elon's final word. At a tech conference in Austin, Musk was asked about the feud. Do you feel bad about what happened with Congresswoman Crockett? The moderator asked. Musk smiled gently. I don't do what I do to make people look bad. I do it because I believe America works best when everyone moves fast and when government stops being afraid of disruption. He paused, then added, and if disruption makes someone uncomfortable, maybe it's time they reflect on why. The audience erupted in applause. Epilogue: The new landscape. By the end of the month, Crockett's approval numbers had dipped. Musk's initiatives in underserved communities had expanded. Other members of Congress took notice. Some began quietly reaching out to Musk's team, not to fight him, but to collaborate. Because love him or hate him, one thing was now crystal clear. Elon Musk had reshaped the battlefield. And Jasmine Crockett? She had become the first, but not the last, to learn what happens when political fury collides with unstoppable innovation.